For the past few days, I was in a complete rut. It was probably from having a slow week at work, the time of the month, as well as it was just a bunch of things that were piling on one after the other, to where I found myself in one of those days where I didn't want to get out of bed. It was a crippling feeling that I couldn't shake off. And I would play worship music to kind of lighten my mood. I would watch something uplifting to get me out of that funk. It wasn't until I did this one thing that actually started to get me going. And before I get into that, as you all might have known, I was sort of on a YouTube sprint, and it was supposed to be 14 days. I only made it to about halfway, or even just shy of halfway. About a week's worth of back-to-back content, and I quickly found myself getting burnt out. However, I realized that you can either see this as a failure, or you can see this as feedback, or I can see this as feedback. And me trying to put out content for the sake of putting out content is a realization that I would much rather be intentional with the things that I'm saying instead of vlogging as if I were doing Vlogmas, just to have a video out and it not even mean anything to anybody, not even myself. So over the course of the past week, that's sort of what I started to discover, is that I wasn't really providing much value except just documenting and talking about what I did throughout the day. Although there were pieces of it that were useful and could be useful to people, all the while I was putting in the work, this refrained me from wanting to consume anything that related to self-development, my personal branding, tuning into my coaching calls and rewatching some of my coaching calls. I refrain from doing that just so I can focus on putting out the videos. And I realized I was pretty out of touch from the mindset that I needed to be tapped into in order to make quality videos. I don't know if that makes sense, but because I hadn't been listening to these calls or tuning in to content like that, I felt kind of detached from it. And a lot of the advice that I would have usually applied got thrown out the window because I was just creating for the sake of creating. And I realized that's just not the way to go. Although I wouldn't have found that out if I didn't do this little, I guess we can call it a 7-day sprint. So it wasn't fruitless because I was able to find that out about how I am and how putting out content like that in a long form setting like YouTube is really draining for me, and I dread it. But indirectly, as I was trying to put out content in general, it made posting on Instagram just a little bit less tedious, which is a positive thing to learn. But luckily, I tuned into both my coaching call today and watched my mentor Omar Altacore's most recent post, or one of his most recent videos with Cassidy, I believe. The last name leaves me, but I was listening to their podcast, and it just reassured me that taking the time to put in the planning and the outlining and the thought behind a video that will be released in a week instead of the following day can yield such potent value if I gave it that time. And by contrast, if I just gave it the day, it kind of resorts to something vloggy, and I would kind of say less valuable. There might be some sort of like entertainment, but the videos I was putting out in this back-to-back setting, it was really just for me and just to exercise a muscle for me, which it ultimately accomplished. But when it comes to posting videos on YouTube, we want it to be for the viewer. And that's also another lesson that I learned in this process. I guess that was my long-winded way to say that I won't be posting for the rest of the 7 days of that 14-day sprint. I will bring it to a close here, but also tune in more, dial in more on the weekly posting of my content. And it might be switching between the Tending the Soil podcast and just maybe me doing my own hair. And then also whatever you as the viewer are interested in watching me put out, I would love to hear your feedback in the comments. If there's any type of content or any topics you'd like me to cover, let me know. And I would love to start planning so that I am able to serve you here on this channel. So that was that on the sprint, but I wanted to pivot into something that I guess it's a very small thing that helped me pull myself out of the rut. And truly, I feel like it's really simple, but at the time, I think it still took a lot in me to execute. And this is all it really was. When I was recording myself yesterday, I was doing a little bit of like self-talk reflection, and I set to do, I think, 3 things. I told myself I was gonna go buy groceries, I was gonna go for a walk, and I wanna say that I was gonna attend the braid event. I really hope that's what I said, but I know I was thinking it in my brain. But I will say, after I kind of made that decision to just pull myself out of that rut after like 6 hours of crying in the morning, I found out that I didn't need to go grocery shopping. My dad ended up going for himself, so that was cool. That ended up knocking out one thing from my day's to-do list. And by the way, this list is what I was thinking about, like, if this is my worst day, which it kind of felt like one of the like not so great days, what few things can I do in the different areas of my life that will just make me consider this day successful? And it could be the lowest of the low, like the lowest barrier of entry kind of thing. So yeah, my dad went grocery shopping because that was on my list. I wanted to go with him, but I'm happy he was able to take care of that. And one item for sure, if it wasn't the braiding event, one item for sure was to walk. Now, it wasn't the act of walking or it wasn't the walking that really saved me. I think it was the fact that I said I was gonna do something and I actually did it. I was having this inner battle about what type of physical activity I was gonna do for the day. And usually on my days off, I'm so set on going to Planet Fitness to get a workout in, start building muscle. And there were just other factors that were making it difficult for me to decide to actually go. Sometimes it's the location, and there are errands I wanted to knock out at the same time, and it changes depending on the location. I get so caught up with those little details because I want to optimize me going out that it left me with decision paralysis again. So when I decided something that was even lower barrier of entry, which was my walk as my physical activity, and I finally just put on my shoes and went out the door, I felt so much self-efficacy after completing that I think everything else in my system just started to get uplifted. Maybe not a ton, but more so than when I was just kind of crying here on my bed. So that was a really powerful thing for me. And it's actually something that I'm trying to work on this year. I think I've said in other videos before, if not on my Instagram, that every year I don't really do New Year's resolutions anymore. I actually do more like mantras or anchoring phrases to keep top of mind so that it's sort of the North Star, or like this, yeah, essentially it's like a mantra that I can let guide my year that year. And this year, sometimes I have multiple ones, but I recall that this year I set it to be keeping my word. And I'm actually not exactly proud to say that I haven't always kept my word to myself. Something that comes up for me is when Kobe Bryant talks about in an interview about self-negotiation, how you go, you know what? Maybe that's not the best example because I essentially still practice some form of self-negotiation. I feel like what I'm talking about is totally gonna contradict what I'm promoting in this video because the level of standards is so starkly different at the moment. So Kobe Bryant has talked about this idea of self-negotiation and the fact that sometimes we'll look at a task and then we'll be like, you know what? Maybe I'm not gonna take care of it because of X, Y, and Z. And to a larger degree, you have a 90-minute workout that you set out to do, and then the self-negotiation brings it down to 60 or something. From what I'm talking about in this video, if your body and your circumstances just really don't allow for the 90 minutes, then celebrate the 60. And then with the whole Planet Fitness thing, and I wasn't able to bring myself to work out because I was just in a really just crippling state, I am going to celebrate the walk that I did. Oh, the mama mentality, I'm working up to it, if anything. It's not what I'm proud of just yet, but the fact that I was able to apply that Layla Hermosi principle of what can you do on your worst day in this arena of your life. And it's pretty much like this check mark. It's okay. It's okay that you're only able to do the smallest amount because in my eyes too, I'm not sure the scope of how deeply she goes into it, but in my eyes, I've ticked off that mark for that particular arena of my day, and it deserves to be celebrated. Until this becomes like a habit and I have that self-efficacy that still integrates grace, then I think it's just one of those deposits that we put in, and eventually it will compound and pay dividends. I will say also, if going zero to Kobe prevent the idea of going from, if the idea of going from zero to Kobe is so daunting that you're not able to do the task at all, just go from zero to you on a bad day, because whatever that is, it's better than zero. And then you build a new floor for yourself so that you can start to work back up to you on your best day and you as your own Kobe Bryant. So essentially doing what you can that is considered like keeping your word is going to continue to build self-trust. And it could be just the smallest level of the task, and celebrate that. So the big lesson for me was really just to move, to get going. We had the task, we were able to boil it down to, the simplest task that I wanted to do. It was really just these 3 things. And I think where I'm at right now, and if I were to ever get back to that state where it's really difficult to pull myself up, being able to name one thing, give myself this one thing to accomplish, and then go do it, makes my days so much better. And then once that's completed, you can probably allow yourself to do another one thing in a different arena, which leads me to how I was able to gather up the courage to go to a braid event that was happening near me. I had told my fiance, I don't know if I want to go. My social battery is, it's not primed right now for me to want to interact with anybody, because I've only interacted with probably my dad and then just texting. I wasn't talking to anybody. So to be exposed to other braiders, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. But because I was able to complete my walk and I was already moving, I'm like, you know what, let's just change, look nice, put on a decent outfit. Let me go to this event because I think I would regret not going. And I think I was correct. I had forgotten what the event was about. I just know that I had set aside time to be at this place by 5 p.m. And it was a live podcast, and I love me a good podcast. And the host of it was a braider, Dope Ass Panna, who I've watched on YouTube for quite a few years. I was watching her back, I think, during the pandemic, and then I was like, oh right, oh my gosh, I am excited to attend this event. It was cool to just put myself in like outside my comfort zone again. I did get, part of the perks of it was I did get some free products from there, so that's always cool. But also just connecting with other local braiders and letting them know, like, hey, I'm in the industry and I'm also a barber, and I can just be somebody that they learned about, you know, a new face in the space. And the owner recognized me, so that was lovely. And I was just able to express to Bree, is her name, that the podcast host, that, oh, I used to watch your stuff. This is so cool, like kind of fangirling, because I learned a lot from you. And then we were able to exchange socials. I met other women, and we exchanged socials there. And however it played out, I would hope that I made him, to whatever degree. I'm just glad that my presence made even the smallest impression on them. I mean, partly because I'm Filipino. I was the only Filipino there, or non-Black person there, so I think I just want to make my face known as somebody that practices the art of braiding. And imagine if I didn't go. Like, I kind of just wallowed in this bed right here of everything that I was crying about in the morning. I wouldn't have made these connections. These women wouldn't know that I exist and that I'm a barber nearby. We might be able to help each other out in the long run. And if we want to get materialistic about it, then I wouldn't get these useful free things as a braider. But that's the least of my worries. I'm just grateful that I chose to move. I chose to get my physical body through something. Ultimately, the easiest and the best way to get over any sense of paralysis is just to move. Move out of your room. If you can, move from inside your house to outside your house. If you're able and capable, go around the block. Because keeping the body stagnant, especially in a confined space where so much has kind of already taken place, there's so much medicine in movement and changing your scenery. And we do have access to that. So I need to remember to utilize that a little bit more. It's not always the biggest cure, but it is one step closer to just pulling ourselves out of a hole that we might be digging for ourselves. I will say though, a girl could definitely use a proper vacation. I've been really dying for one. It's just been challenging to plan it, to save up for it, to set aside time for it with my fiance and everything. So until then, I'm blessed enough to live in the home that I do, that I can kind of easily walk around the neighborhood. I have a car. I can bop out into another part of the city and just unwind somewhere. But just get moving. Like, don't stay stuck. I worry for some people that I know, some friends that I have, that allow themselves to get cooped up in a space. And it's we're very prone to spiraling, and I don't want that for anybody, because as somebody who I feel like has found God, done work to be able to, I don't even know what, really done the work. I feel like I've done work to make finding peace a priority and finding God a priority. But sometimes God's voice is a bit challenging to hear because of the noise in our head, the things that we consume. I think that's one of the big ones, especially for me. I'll find myself constantly consuming. Yeah, that's definitely a problem. I was doom scrolling for days and days and days, and I don't know what I was hoping for. You search for that dopamine hit, and I'm just like, why can't I put this down? Even like on the TV, that's why sometimes I'll need to unplug, so to speak, from YouTube and take a pause from consumption of my usual videos, because then it just falls on deaf ears, or back to this cycle of deception, believing that I'm being productive when I'm listening to self-help and productive things without executing. So finding that balance was always really tricky, but we're getting there. But touch grass. Being able to touch grass and get some proper fresh air is a true medicine that is probably underutilized. I know it is by me, especially with the situation that I've put in myself, and not prioritizing taking a break and being outside and just creating separation between relaxing and working. Well, we're gonna be better now. I am hopeful. Ouch. So if you find yourself in a rut, what I want you to do is just choose, if not 3 things, choose just one out of these 3 things that you can allow yourself to complete for the day. And when you've completed this one thing, celebrate it, give yourself grace, and thank yourself for putting in that deposit into that little self-trust bank. And once you feel ready, feel free to take on another task. But being able to accomplish one of those things, especially when things feel really difficult to complete, make it simple. Be proud that you've designated something to do and you executed it, and don't minimize it. And I would hope whatever that task is, it could allow you to get up from out of your bed, go out to the kitchen, to another part of your house, or go outside, so that you're moving through your day instead of staying stuck in the brain, staying stuck here in the mental, and your body isn't able to process and move through what needs to be released. Because I think that's probably one of those things that we don't realize or we don't see, but we gotta feel, is that whatever's stuck in here, our body has the power to move through it. So allow for that and get moving. You're gonna thank yourself later, and your body's gonna thank yourself later, and your mind is gonna thank yourself later. So if there's anything you take away from today, pick one task, carry it out, and build that self-trust. That was Tending the Soil, and I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you.